So the World Tram Driver Championships, which is in Vienna this year, actually, they shut down a couple streets for it. And this is the first year that the non-European country's been allowed to compete in the World Tram Driver Championships, and it's us. So Sally Burgess is a trailblazer.
I can't even believe there's tram sports. Do they even go that fast?
Let's see. There was a race segment. Yeah, here we go. 25 kilometers an hour. Or something like that.
So she went max 25 kilometers an hour into a giant bowl.
Yeah, to hit it onto. And she is a national athlete.
Damn. Sally.
Yeah, when Yanni was telling me about this, I was like, this can't be real, this can't be true. And it was real and true, and it was truly upsetting. Why? Okay, let's wind it back. Number one, what do you mean there's like a fucking tram world championship? That's insane. How do you, obviously they have different events. You've got the one where you hit shit into other shit with your tram. You've got the tram race, which feels weird, right? Because wouldn't they all be, do they have to import, their own trams to come and race?
No, it seems like it's a braking thing. So they have to get to a high speed and then from a certain point see how quickly they can bring the tram to a halt.
No, but do they have to bring their trams from Australia?
No, so that's actually another problem. Kieran was asking, was it a problem?
Oh, yeah, because, I don't know, left-hand drive, it's not left-hand drive, but it's just also they've got, they have to fucking, stupid
European trams. So Sally's partner, Mar, he's like, the buttons were tagged with titles in Germans, and the control stick that we used to drive the tram was on the left instead of on the right, as they are in Australian trams. One other thing I noticed was the seat. It's so much more elevated in Melbourne, whereas the Vienna trams were a lot lower, so visually it was a little bit different. Anyway, Austria won the World Tram Champs.
No way, in their own fucking home country where they have home court advantage. Fuck off.
It was rigged. She was derailed.
And then it's well, why is Australia now involved in this? Why did we get the, special invite to compete in the World Tram Championships?
Because everybody loves Australia. It's just Melbourne, like Eurovision.
No, because Melbourne's got enough trams to qualify.
Because they have to qualify, Casey. They have to qualify and you know how you qualify? It's not tram prowess. It's not because you train with trams all the time. It's because you have enough trams. If you physically have enough fucking trams, you can go to the goddamn World Tram Convention or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a championship.
I don't care. It's a meeting of dorks.
I mean, I was in Melbourne for the first time last weekend, and the trams fucking scared me. I never drove once. I mean, the fact that the trams have, a spot on the traffic lights.
Yeah, fun fact, I broke my arm in Melbourne because I was trying to run across a tram track, and I slipped because I was in these fuck-ass little ballet flats, and I slipped, and I broke my arm, and I winded myself pretty bad. And police officers saw me run across the trams, illegally, by the way, and fall and, hurt myself, right? And so I get off the tram tracks because, my friends are pulling me up, and, I whited out. It wasn't a blackout, everything went white, and I was like, wow, damn, I'm dying. And they pull up, and they're like, you alright? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine, because I don't want to get in trouble, because I just did a dickhead thing. And I'm like, okay, we're fine. And my friend's like, you sure are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Let's just go get something to eat. So we go to get something to eat. We go down to this, I don't know, cafe or whatever. And they're looking at the menu, and my arm really hurts. And I'm just looking at the menu, and I'm realizing that I can't read any of the words. My brain is in shock, and, the letters don't make any sense. And I'm looking at them, and I know that they're words, but I can't find the meaning of those words in my brain. Yeah. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, hey, guys, I can't read. I don't think I'm feeling very well, actually. So we go to the hospital that her sister works at, one of my friends, and we go there, and they have a look, and they're like, yeah, you broke that.
Fuck
You broke it. And I was like, and that was the first day of our trip to Melbourne. That was in the first half hour. We got off the plane, we found out about the referendum about same-sex marriage, and I was like, yay, and then I broke my arm.
Okay, people are entitled to their sexual proclivities. There'd be 1,000 blossoms bloom.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Shouldn'ta, where Kieran's arm has healed, and we're all doing pretty well. Hi, Kieran.
Hi, Yanni.
Hi, Casey.
Hi, Yanni.
Hi, Casey.
Hi, Kieran. That's so
and
easy with 3 people.
It's
I know,
so much easier
smashed
with the
through
3 of
it.
us.
yeah.
Crushed it.
It's great to have you all back. Thank you for joining us today on this fine Thursday when you're hearing this, because you all listen the moment it comes out. I know
Naturally.
you do, and I appreciate that you do that. Welcome to Shouldn'ta Come, a podcast about 2 canoes tied to each other in a harsh and unforgiving ocean.
Wow. Is that
Yeah.
what this is about?
Yeah, that's what this podcast is.
Shit, my bad. I didn't know.
We went
Yeah.
from trams to canoes. What is going on?
We
We've
love
got-
transport.
We have a lot to talk about today, because today we are going to be talking about Papua New Guinea, which recently celebrated 50 years of independence.
PNG. PNG.
Here is an image of the flag an Australian guy named Hal Holman suggested Papua New Guinea take, and the current flag, which was redesigned by a 15-year-old girl in Papua New Guinea named Susan Karike.
Okay. Right, okay, so Hal has proposed a tricolor, as they say. We've got a blue on the left, the middle is yellow, and the right is green. Now, in the blue section, we have the Southern Cross in white stars, and on the right section, we have, what is that, a bird of some variety, like a lyrebird or something?
Yeah, it's a bird of paradise.
Nice, that makes sense.
I'll
yeah.
let you explain the other one, and then I'll explain what it all is about.
Now, the PNG flag that we know today is a 2-colored flag split like diagonally, and on the top diagonal we have red with the yellow bird of paradise on there, and on the bottom half we have black background with the white Southern Cross stars.
Yeah, the bird of paradise on the flag is actually very striking.
Yeah.
But in Hal Holman's flag, and Hal Holman is like, Australian guy.
Yeah.
The blue is for the sea in the southern hemisphere.
Got it.
The gold is for the mineral wealth and golden coastlines of Papua New Guinea.
I'm going to
Ew.
actually start like punching.
And then the green is for the highlands, right? So the Southern Cross is there because it's in the southern hemisphere. And the kumul, which is known in English as the... specifically, this is the Ragiana bird of paradise, but one of the birds of paradise.
The Ragiana bird of paradise is Papua New Guinea's national emblem.
Is in the green because they live in the highlands. They don't live on the coast. The gold. This is kind of more of a map than a flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
This is kind of, I guess, the Australian perspective of what Papua New Guinea is, right?
Yeah.
And the colors themselves don't really conjure anything for Papuan people. So the redesign has the iconic diagonal black and red, as you said, keeping the icons of the Southern Cross and the kumul, but displaying the kumul in a beautiful yellow. It's slightly different to the gold, but specifically in the context. And the kumul is depicted, displaying. Kieran, have you heard of what displaying means in a bird context?
I have to presume it's like really like showy offy, like they're doing the thing where they like when a peacock takes out all its tail feathers.
It's basically like that. And the kumuls apparently have like stage production kind of things where all the ladies will form a big circle.
Yes,
Right.
queens.
And they're all watching, and all the boys get in the middle, and they all fight to have like the best tree, the highest tree, and then they display on top of the tree.
So they have
my
a dance
God.
off?
They have a dance/fight off because you have to fight to get to the top of the tree, and then you do the dance when you're on the tree, and all the women are just like sitting around watching, being like, "Ooh, look at how he went."
So this is like Fight Club mixed with Magic Mike.
Magic fight.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's basically Fight Club Magic Mike. That's essentially how it is.
I love it.
But no, there's
All the girls
yeah.
are just watching like, oh my god.
Yeah, right. Okay, so Magic Mike, so this the stripper comedy,
Yes.
the male stripper comedy. But instead of male strippers, it's men fighting each other and then displaying themselves. Yeah. Anyway, so there's this awesome picture of a kumul that actually is the Wikipedia page for this kumul that really cemented the iconic power of the depiction on the flag. So just imagine seeing like dozens of these birds doing this crazy shit everywhere, surrounded by a bunch of bitches.
Got it. Oh, yeah, he fucks. Yeah, he does. Oh, he fucks.
Isn't it, like, if you just want to flick back and forth, don't worry about marking it on the Zoom. But just so you can see the comparison between how it is on the flag and how, like obviously that image was taken after the flag was designed, but, like, you can
He's-
see the power of that image.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
if you had grown up around that, how much more important that would be for you than, like, for us seeing it being like, is that a bird.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you want
That's crazy. I love the look of him. Reminiscent a little bit of, I suppose, a cross between a parrot and a crow. Coloration-wise, quite bright. We've got a green face, yellow head. The wings are like this gorgeous, like... You've got multiple types of feathers here. You've got some short feathers up top that are kind of like a gold going into like maroon. There's these long, kind of very luscious feathers as well that look mad soft. Look like a
Ostrich, kind of.
like an ostrich. Yeah, it looks like a flapper in the 20s, like feather boa style.
It
like.
is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and those feathers at the back, you'll see that in the flag, the depiction has these long feathers coming out the back of it.
Yes.
So those tail feathers get really long, and that's one of the things that they like display when they're displaying. But to the flag specifically, so I just wanted to go into that. I thought that was really cool. But the meaning of the red and black is a great example of how meaning isn't real. So as opposed to how the tricolor is like, the blue is the ocean, and it's in the southern hemisphere with the Southern Cross. And in the middle is the coast, and then you go from the ocean to the coast to the highlands where the birds are.
And they didn't want to put, like, I don't know, like a seashell in the middle of, like, the fucking coast or whatever, and just be like, and this is where shells are found.
Well,
you can find shells here.
They would have been right to, because some of the coastal peoples of Papua New Guinea are the people who introduced the first shell economy, which was then adapted into modern cash economy.
Insane.
But that is far into the future. Well spotted.
God, thanks. It was a joke.
We'll get there later. Okay, so the red and black, right? So the Papua New Guinean
Yes.
flag, red and black, nothing means anything. Our hubris knows no bounds, but there are 3 stories that I came across in my readings of websites about what the red and black are.
Okay.
So one is that Susan, this 15-year-old, and there's like, they've all seen the flag proposed by Hal Holman, and they're like, the bird fox.
The bird fox.
And we know what it is, and we want to keep it, but we don't care for
The rest of it, nah.
So there's like a consultation kind of thing, and she's at a school, and they bring it to the school. And one of the stories is that she's like, well, whenever we have like cultural events, she's 15, so she doesn't quite know what's happening at them yet, because you're a child.
Yeah.
Everyone's wearing like red and black. Those are the colors. Everything's painted. People have it painted on their body with like accents of gold, accents of yellow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so these are colors I associate with like things that we do.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? So
okay.
that's one story that some people had recounted. The second story that's associated with the first is that black and red were the colors of German Papua New Guinea. And that is one of the Papua New Guineas that we've had. And they had kind of been subsumed into the national identity of it because it was something people related to. And a lot of those peoples hadn't been considered to be the same people until the Germans arrived to be like, well, you all live here, so you're all this kind of person.
Okay, so... Okay, that makes sense.
So it's tied to the conception of Papua New Guineanism. That's not a real word. Yeah, so there's like a feedback loop because it's like, well, they do like black and red paint is pretty easy to find, easy to make rather.
Yes.
And so it, like, oh, we can fuck with black and red. That works pretty well. Those can be our colors.
Looks good together too.
Exactly.
Very striking.
And the third story is that the black represents the darkness before the light of the gospel. The red represents the Papua New Guinean people covered by the blood of Jesus. And the white Southern Cross represents a nation. Represents a Nathan.
Represents Nathan.
Represents a nation coming out of that darkness. And the yellow bird of paradise represents the Holy Spirit.
Wow. That's a choice.
Isn't that?
The spirit fox.
Isn't that? Yeah, well, I mean, the Spirit Fox, like, this is
No.
the best Holy Spirit ever. Doesn't that kind of degrade the bird of paradise? Like, it's the Holy Spirit. It's like, I think it's the fucking sick ass
I think
bird.
it's this sick fucking bird.
It's
Thank
the
you very
Kumul,
much.
thank you. The Holy Spirit can aspire to be like the Kumul.
Yeah.
Anyway, this was just a little addendum I did this morning because I was kind of interested. But the independence that Papua New Guinea is celebrating is 50 years of independence, formerly from the United Kingdom. But Papua New Guinea, I haven't been saying it out loud while I've been writing it. And I'm realizing that saying it fast is hard. Papua New Guinea was run by Australia at the time of its independence, like managed by Australia. And Albo was trying to take it back in all ways but legislative.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
we've spoken about this, but for the listener, on Independence Day, the 16th of September, it was announced that Australia and Papua New Guinea's militaries were going to effectively merge. So you hit one of us, you hit both of us. This is being sold as countering China's influence, which The Guardian describes as major infrastructure spending and loans, but in regular words, it provides two major benefits to Australia. First, Papuan citizens will be able to serve in the Australian Army. This is going to be important if the Australian government actually plans to prosecute a war anywhere in the world, whether it be sending the boys to Ukraine, China, or some surprise third location. Okay, where do you think it's going to be?
The surprise third location?
Yeah.
Are we arguing that Taiwan is China?
Yes.
Okay.
No, we're not arguing that, but that's...
Yanni says,
No.
and this is verbatim, Taiwan belongs to China. Taiwan is a Chinese entity.
Oh, no.
Roast.
A war there refers to a war with China.
Okay, sure.
We're not going to war against Taiwan.
Well, yeah, because it doesn't exist. That's part of China.
Oh my god.
Okay. Other than that, gosh, what are we gonna do? We're gonna let's. Okay. Where should we send the boys? Well, their favorite place to go, the Middle East.
Send them back.
They've missed it. They're craving it.
Send them back over there. Yeah, so the thing is, though, they're not going to find enough Australians who want to do that.
God, no.
It's not going to happen, like people who live here.
I tell you something totally off center. I've been
Yeah,
looking
go.
at jobs like recently on Seek, just like having a peruse.
Yeah.
And there's so many ADF jobs up right now. And
Oh
they're all
my
just like,
God.
no experience, no experience needed.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah.
The Australian Defence Force is turning to social media and video game platforms in a bid to attract the next generation of troops.
Alright.
Hey, dickheads, come here.
Like,
We
please,
need-
hey, no experience. You could have $80,000 right now. You don't need to know anything, I promise.
Oh, this is scary. Oh, damn. Well, yeah, so obviously they're not going to find enough people, like, willing and able to go over there, right? So this is like poverty drop shipped, right? Like, they're going to be like, hey, you can get Australian citizenship, you come serve in our military.
Yeah.
And we'll pay you, like, crazy amounts of money in the context of where you live.
Yeah.
This could be important for the US as well, because it is the kind of relationship that we have with them. So we're trying to, like, if we were the US, Papua New Guinea is Australia, right? So it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
if we do something, you have to come with us.
Yeah.
Because it's not like, I don't think Papua New Guinea is being attacked by, like, the Solomon Islands or something anytime soon. So it's not like they're going to call us to defend them against somebody.
No.
It's really like... Yeah, well, yeah. So second, Australia doesn't need to work as hard to manifest the pretense of Chinese intimidation, right? Because now they can say if Chinese boats go anywhere near Papua New Guinea, that's also intimidating Australia. Or one
Yeah.
of...
Yeah.
Broadening that kind of like zone of influence.
Exactly. Or whatever it is they call it.
Because, like, in our geography episode
Yes.
of up in Papua New Guinea, there was, like, one island, wasn't there?
Yes.
Where China had control and they were losing their shit about it.
It wasn't even that China had control. A Chinese company proposed, like, hey, we could do this on that island. Nothing
Yeah.
even happened, but there was a diplomatic freak out about it.
That's it.
About
like,
Chinese aggression.
if they had any capacity of, like, taking over Papua New Guinea or just, like, having some kind of influence, it's
Yeah.
scaring the shit out of them. So they're like, we
Yes.
need to make this work so that we can put bases there and shit.
Exactly. And there is, we're actually about to talk about a base because
Yeah.
it's had some sparkling water. So, Australia is spending $500 million to expand the Lumbrum military base on... Where is it? Lumbrum military base on? Where do you think it is? It's a place you've heard about. You heard a lot about it while we were in high school. Go on.
Nauru?
No, it's not Nauru. It's Manus Island.
Oh, fuck, the other one.
It's the other one. Yeah, which I suppose we can call Ostranamo Bay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Because it is, part of Papua New Guinea or whatever.
Yeah, holy shit.
And what we are building here is a base which is a great asset.
For Papua New Guinea, of course,
Ultimately can be used by Australia.
When you send a sign, you don't fuck around, do you?
Also, another chunk of money has been given by Australia to upgrade the Papua New Guinean Parliament House as an
Right.
Independence Day gift or whatever. I don't
I'm sure
care.
that gift has no strings attached.
I don't know. They couldn't actually get this like military deal across the line by the time of writing this episode. I hope it's because Marape is stringing Elbow along for all he's worth. There was a article that came out that China posted on Facebook or whatever. I don't know how this works. But like,
Was China vague posting?
China was very being like, we support Papua New Guinea signing treaties with whoever they like, but not if those treaties mean they can't sign treaties with any, or not if those agreements mean they can't sign agreements with other people.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I think the implication being that Australia's proposed treaty or whatever it is they're doing with Papua New Guinea would mean that Papua New Guinea can't have relationships with China in a business, or I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. But I hope they're stringing Elbow along, leveraging China against him. I imagine it's going to be signed at some point before we release this episode, or at least before we record episode 2. But at the moment, Elbow is at his Trumpiest, trying to spruik for it. He's trying to reassure everybody that this is all good.
This is very positive. Very positive. There is no downside in this whatsoever. This is all upside for Australia and upside for Papua New Guinea.
It's a quote. This motherfucker sounds like Donald Trump in a board meeting where he's trying to act serious for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, look at these lines.
And he's like, yeah,
going
this is
up.
good. It's going to be good. It's going to go up. Don't worry. Like, this is going to be great for everyone. It's good for everyone. There's no possible downsides to this.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, it's not been super popular in Papua New Guinea as far as I could tell. Obviously, I don't live there, never been there, know no one from there. But people, like, the big talk is like, what does this mean for Papuan sovereignty? Is this the first step to Australian recolonization
Well, I
of
mean,
Papua New Guinea?
it feels pretty suspect.
Yeah,
Like,
isn't
it feels pretty fucking suspect.
Yeah, it's very strange, and especially kept in the actual context of, like, no one's invading. This is all a big song and dance.
Yeah.
China's our biggest trading partner. Neither side wants to fuck that up. No one's invading anywhere. But I'm here to tell everybody, as Australia's hottest pessimist, the sovereignty battle is over. For all of us, worldwide, as long as the depth of military infrastructure and lack of shame possessed by the West is so overwhelming.
Fair enough.
We, and I use we extremely broadly, as people in the global south or diaspora groups or people who don't like the capitalist-style cash economy, even if they're white, can... and that's you guys.
Oh my god,
Damn.
white mention.
I hope Elle's back soon. Can have whatever kind of government structure that, they want, right? We want. If the people in charge decide they want to do something and they have the balls to enforce it, they will. And once it's done, there isn't a return without reincarnation, because usually what's done to make something happen can't be undone.
Yeah.
Directly colonized, financially managed from afar, agreements with friendly local leaders, or Anthony Albanese granting Guinea the NRL Gooners. That's what I'm calling them. They're not going to be... I think they're going to be called the Kumuls, actually, the Papua New Guinea football team. But I'm calling them the Gooners, the Guinea Gooners. However it be, the material control over the world's people and resources remains in the hands of moneyed, largely Western, but, I think it's a bit past that as well, interests. But those are just my thoughts. And what do I know? I'm just sexy.
It's too hot to think.
It's too hot to think. Let's hop in the chamber and head back in time, like we do every once in a while, and situate ourselves on the tip of Cape York and take a good hard look at our closest neighbor.
Whee!
Welcome to Papua New Guinea. Here is a map of the area from 1700 or so.
Okay. That is an interesting way to depict what we know as water. They have decided it is in fact land. Okay, so the western side of Australia, while kind of lumpy for sure, looks kind of like the western side of Australia.
Although it is named, what is it labeled?
Oh, Hollandia Nova.
Yeah, New Holland.
For New Holland, yeah. So the east side just blows out into this massive fucking swath of land with no discernible shape, and curves all the way up, kind of half of a ballet move where you've got your hands above your head and you do the little spin. It's half of that, you're trying to shade your eyes from the sun, is kind of how that goes, and I'm presuming that's Papua New Guinea.
Exactly. This is a map done by someone who's still trying to make the like Great Southern Land. So you see here Terra Australia.
Yeah.
That's like
They're like,
Southern
surely there's
land.
more.
Exactly. Like these two land masses we found must be peninsulas coming off a big land mass.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to make it look like they're connected. Obviously, as we've covered recently, the two countries are very close, though not quite as connected as some dumb Europeans thought at the time. We will talk terminology and etymology first, because I love to do that. As to understand something is to rob it of its power.
Rad.
So, New Guinea. New Guinea is pretty easy to figure out. So the Guinea they're referring to is the area of Western Africa south of the Senegal River. Why that place is called Guinea is ultimately a lost etymology, though people think it comes from the term for black in one of the North African Amazigh languages.
So who are the Amazigh? They are the indigenous people of North Africa who have lived in the region for thousands of years.
For what it's worth, those languages and people are typically referred to as Berber in English, but that's actually a slur and an onomatopoeia. Because in Greek and then in Arabic, it's meant to represent like incoherent babbling noises, like burr, 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 burr,
Oh my god.
Damn, what
which
the
is
hell?
how Mediterranean people viewed the indigenous North Africans.
Fuck. Of course.
And so Berber has the same etymology as the word barbarian. Because it's like they're barbarians, they go burr, 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 burr. So, Amazigh or Amazighen seems to be like the word used in academia to group those languages, but obviously it's not actually just like one language or whatever.
Does that mean it's a slur to say barbarian? Like barbarian.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not like not a slur. It's as much of a slur to say hooligan.
Yeah, but like when I'm playing D&D and I choose barbarian.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately that refers to like North Africans.
What
yes.
you're doing, Casey, is you're wearing barbarian face.
Yeah,
Pretty disrespectful. It's stolen valor.
No, I feel like I can just really play that up.
Yeah, Rachel Barber's all over here.
Yeah, you're like
Just go into a town and be like, this is bigotry. And
you're
slaughter
trying
everybody.
to trying to convince everybody that you're actually a barbarian. You're getting like surgery to get big tusks put into your teeth and shit. No, okay. So Guinea in the Amazigh languages might have meant something like burnt face to refer to people who were darker.
Okay.
So that seems to have become a generic Portuguese term for black people.
Okay.
So like the North Africans who are a bit more like brown refer to people south of them as something to do with Guinea, and Portuguese go, okay, so Guinea means darker, or something like that. There's obviously, this is deep etymology. There's no actual truth here. So when the people of modern-day Papua New Guinea were first met and murdered by Europeans, those Europeans were like, oh, these natives look like the Black Guineans of Africa. And they started calling the place New Guinea.
Yeah, that sounds pretty pretty self-explanatory. That makes
Yeah.
complete sense to me.
Yeah. And I mean, it reflects what seems to be a truth borne out by genetics, in that, like, there's different waves of people that came to this part of the world slightly north of us, and some of them have been separated from the wider Asian continent for a lot longer than other people. Yeah, it's real fuck shit. Similarly, the origin of the word Papua is hotly contested among linguists of the region, which reflects one of the most famous things about this region. There are a lot of languages.
Hell yes.
I was hoping it had a good meaning.
No, nothing that we're going to talk about today has a good meaning.
Damn it. I thought it was going to be like the local like name for like
No.
one of the local names of like the place, and like, oh, let's put that in front of New Guinea so it's less rude.
No.
Okay, what does it mean, Yanni?
Nothing is ever good, and that's why we shouldn't have come.
Well, there we go. Crushed it. Episode over.
But yeah, there's a lot of languages spoken in the island that's now called New Guinea. That being said, Papua is most probably not a term that comes from the place it's now used to refer to.
Fuck.
For a long time, the accepted belief was that it came from a Malay word meaning frizzy-haired, and Malay is like a group term for a lot of languages spoken in the Indonesia-Malaysia region. So the idea being like, well, these people who have frizzy hair, we call them the frizzy-haired people. But more recent work suggests it might be from a Biak term, Supi Papua, which roughly means the land below the sunset, which is the land to the west.
Okay.
So, like, Europeans are talking to Biak people, and the Biak people are like, oh, those people are the Supi Papua. And the Europeans are like, okay, so Papua must be that island. And the thing about Biak is it's in the ginormous Cenderawasih Bay that New Guinea kind of hugs, right? So the land to the east and the land to the west of Biak is actually both New Guinea.
Right.
And so even though Papua means land to the west, Portuguese people started using it to refer to the entire island that the Biak people are pointing at, which is also the land to the east. I have a little map on the next slide to demonstrate this. So the people on the island of Biak, they're like, yeah, that's the land to the west, right? But they're saying Subi Papua, and Portuguese people are interpreting that as the name of that place.
Yes.
And so then they go, okay, so that whole landmass is Papua. Even though most of it's to the opposite direction.
Like it's literally kind of like a what is that? What is the name of that? Peninsula. It's basically like a peninsula that they're kind of pointing at that comes off of Papua.
They're in
like
a
big
little
fat one, but
they're in a bay formed by a peninsula, and so most directions around where they are is the island.
Yeah, except for north.
Exactly. And so the term like becomes kind of swiftly morphed from like specifically referring to a certain part to like referring to the whole island.
Everybody, yeah.
Obviously, we don't know how that happened because it was like 500 years ago.
Yeah.
There was a delightful paper written in the 1990s looking into the history of proposed etymologies of the word Papua, and they were like trying to figure out which ones made the most sense.
Yeah.
The author lists some of the more bizarre etymologies, as they put it, of Papua that linguists have tried to convince people of. I hoped you could take turns reading these ones out.
Oh, I'm so excited.
The papaya fruit, for the immense quantities of this fruit growing in New Guinea.
Hapoewa, an Amboinese word meaning tangled, describing the hair of the inhabitants.
Poea, a Sundanese word meaning squirrel's nest that also looks untidy.
Harpus, a Biak word meaning riches, imported goods, said when foreign ships would visit.
A pet theory, conceived in 1945, which I abandoned at an early stage of the present study, was that the name was imported by the Iberians, who possibly tried thus to preserve the name Papua of the Mountain in Numidia, where, according to Procopius of Caesarea, King Gaylemir of the Vandals fled to a tribe of black barbarians in AD 512 to escape the Byzantinian marshal Belisarius.
Wow, I really liked, I think that one's true.
Yeah, no, that one's true.
The paper, like, was really, really, like, I loved it. It was really fun. A lot of it was in this kind of tone of, like, man, these people are idiots. Like I am. But, yeah, a more recent paper also kind of revisits it. And they both view the islands to the sunset explanation as most likely based on what their reading of the sources are.
Yeah.
But they agree that all the sources they have, they interact with each other in a way that does make the whole thing a little muddy, and that there's not many sources, right? And both the papers, basically, they're going back into early vocabulary lists compiled by German, Spanish, Portuguese, Dutch, and British sailors and missionaries and stuff, trying to figure out, like, what's the oldest reference to a word that seems like it might be a word, Papua, that you can then link to a way that you could refer to the people there.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like just looking at people's diaries. And it's also how, like, a word spoken by someone there is heard by someone who's, like, German.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up with all these different Europeans here?
Excellent. European New Guinea.
So what's European New Guinea?
Well, looks like we've got, like, what, the island appears to be divided into 3. We have, much like with Australia, the west section is the largest. What flag is that? Is that...
Who is it? Who is it? You're not saying anything, Darnie.
You're not saying anything. Well, I mean, it looks like Russia, but that sounds bizarre.
No, it's not Russia.
Portugal,
not Russia.
right?
No, not Portugal.
Who the fuck is that? Oh, Denmark.
No.
Those other ones. The Netherlands.
Yes, it's the Netherlands, the Dutch.
Yeah, the other type
As soon as you
of...
said the D, I was like,
Yeah,
you've got it,
I
you're
was
so
like,
close.
and then when you said the other ones, I'm like, I know exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
So the western half of the island is owned by the Dutch, owned as it were.
Yes. And then we have on the eastern side, it's also been split into 2. The lower half, we have the English, and the upper half, I wish I could tell you what flag that is. It's black on top, white in the middle, red on the bottom.
It's the old German flag.
Oh!
That's where those colors come from. in one theory for the Papua New Guinean flag.
Right.
So like Imperial Germany. So like pre-Nazi, like pre-1910s,
Yeah, yeah,
1800s
yeah.
Germany. That's the black and red. So that's German New Guinea there. And yeah, British New Guinea in the south east or bottom right. So the story of how this island was split into 3 and then 2 is mostly the one that we know. It starts with the trade of food and weapons between the gringos and the locals. And then they start to trade in people, and by this I mean slaves. And then they trade in souls, and by this I mean missionaries. And then they realize there's different kinds of Europeans destroying the local population, so they have to draw some lines around the plantations they're creating to extract all the surplus resources without causing a war.
The first scramble for Africa was when European colonial powers saw a continent and they rushed in to carve it up and steal the land.
And now they have these newly civilized natives, and from the late 1800s until World War I, there were 3 European parties controlling the land of New Guinea: the Dutch, the British / Australia, and the Germans. So, like we talked about, that big segment of the left of New Guinea is controlled by the Dutch, as they had been expanding their local colonial empire in Indonesia. And they had control of most of the Malay-speaking trading populations in western or leftern New Guinea, with very little interest for the people in eastern New Guinea. So there's more people, broadly speaking, in the west who speak Malay languages or are Muslim and are kind of plugged into the cash economy, whereas there's more people in the east who aren't.
Okay, so that makes sense. They're kind of like, yeah, perfect. This is where we're going to focus our energies.
Exactly. And so the project of drawing up the Dutch border seems to have been the process by which the eastern half became known as Papua New Guinea, and the western half became kind of known as like Indonesian Guinea or something like that.
Yeah.
To cement that these people are closer to our, holdings. And obviously we have to like just trust the Dutch about that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that seems to be where the idea of Papua like really took hold, because it was like, yeah, this is Papua, this is Indonesia. And that's where like the idea of this is Papua New Guinea and this is like West Guinea.
Which is so funny given like what they were saying about like, oh, that's the people to the west, they're Papua.
Isn't it?
And it's
funny?
like, then why have we called the East Papua?
West Papua means west, and then Papua New Guinea, the eastern half is the anti-Papua half is known as Papua New. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's so goofy. All right.
It's so goofy. It's a whole mess, right? And the British territory is the part closest to Australia, obviously, in the southeast. And the Germans have taken over the northeast, and there's like the mountains dividing them. And that's why there's that kind of wonky line going between them. That's like the mountains of Papua New Guinea. We'll talk about the mountains in a bit. All of these, like Dutch, German, and British New Guinea, are some variations of like slavery plantation businesses or like very exploitative trading where like there's slavery somewhere going on. But like it's the late 1800s, early 1900s, really boom time for that shit.
Yeah.
Over time, more colonial administration was enforced until World War I. The thing about World War I, who was fighting who in World War I? Let's see if we can remember.
Okay. It's the Germans and the Prussians
That's the Germans.
are together.
Oh no.
And they are fighting France and England.
Yes. That's the main bit I wanted.
Thank God. I was like, help me.
So
Help me, Yanni.
So Germany's fighting Britain, right?
Yes.
What does that mean about Papua New Guinea?
Oh, nothing good, it seems.
Right, so now there's a land border between the
Germany
island of Britain and the country of Germany in the South Pacific.
That's good stuff. And what, like, the Netherlands is just like, don't involve us.
Yes. The Netherlands are like, don't involve us. I'm sure they're involved, but yeah. So there's actually, I think one of the first battles of World War I or one of the first battles of World War II was in Papua New Guinea. But yeah, it's because like there's a land border there where there isn't in Europe.
Yeah, funnily enough. That's fucking silly. Could you imagine?
Yeah, no. It's really fucking weird. Germany has like a weird set of holdings in the South Pacific. So they're a bit later onto it, right? So if you want to go to the next slide, guys.
You can't just, like, put the phrase the German Pacific there. That feels so alien. What do you mean?
These are the German territories of the South Pacific. The part outlined in red is what the territory was from 1899.
Okay, cool.
So at the time of World War One.
Okay, cool.
What we're seeing here is basically the Marshall Islands, Palau, Micronesia, and the Marinara Islands.
I think you mean Marshall Einstein.
Yeah, and as well as like the
Salomon.
the top. Don't worry,
Bismarck Archipel.
it will come into it. We'll actually talk about it. The northeast corner of Papua New Guinea, and like a bunch of the islands from there are like German New Guinea because they were
Carolinian. Anyway,
and
sorry.
So the Carolinian is, I think, Micronesia, and obviously Palau is Palau,
Yeah.
and the blue part, the smaller portion, is what Germany had from 1888, and then they bought a big chunk of it from Spain in 1899.
Okay.
They bought it from Spain when the Spanish Empire ran out of money because they were broke because of the Spanish-American War.
Hilarious.
And they ran out of resources for their intercontinental empire in the 1800s. And yeah, they have all these tiny islands they give to Germany because of the ancientness of German and Spanish empires compared to the big boys of the colonial times. So in 1914, the German territory, which is known in German as Kaiser Wilhelmsland,
Perfect.
Damn.
which was invaded and occupied by the Australian army. And after the war, Australia gets to keep it. Yay.
Yay.
So German New Guinea becomes the territory of New Guinea, and British New Guinea becomes the territory of Papua.
Okay.
So the southeastern part of the island is
Now,
known by the
Papua.
word West,
Got it.
which is ridiculous, but it's whatever. So everybody comes back in the 1940s for the Second World War when Japan invades, and this is when all the Kokoda Trail shit happens. But as we know, Japan is going to surrender, and the western half of New Guinea is going to become like one independent... Sorry, the western half of New Guinea is going to become part of Indonesia. I'm getting my east and west mixed up. The western or left part of New Guinea will become part of Indonesia, and the eastern territories of Papua and New Guinea will become united and administered as the territory of Papua and New Guinea as part of Australia.
Okay.
There are hundreds of thousands of people living in the highlands that have no idea that any of this happened.
Fair enough.
Like, no one's been there, and they haven't been down.
Yeah.
All these people had no idea that they had to be Dutch, and then German, and now they're going to be Australian,
Devastating
thankfully,
news.
or whatever. And
They're too busy watching the birds.
they're too busy watching the birds.
And fair enough.
Doing their displaying.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't?
Right?
Well, because they're just living up in these mountains that we're going to talk about pretty soon. And the Europeans die if they try to go up the mountains. So they don't know. Like, I mean, it's not quite like they don't know. There are, connections between people, but a lot of it happens pretty quickly in the context of like generations of life in Papua New Guinea.
Yeah.
So, over the next couple of decades after World War II, Australia continues the European management of Papua New Guinea through a legion of superpowered police known locally as Kyaps, from the German word Kaptan, which just means captain, or whatever. Kyaps are people sent from Australia to, like, run shit on the ground. They have an essentially limitless mandate. In more straightforward language, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
We briefly mentioned how many languages Papua New Guinea is known to have. Obviously, the borders of language are just as bad as the borders between countries, but people say there's like 800 languages spoken on that half of the island.
Fuck.
Another like 300 on the Indonesian half. The language diversity is one of the many outcomes of the terrain of Papua New Guinea. Big fucking mountains covered in rainforests.
Yeah, that's mostly mountain. I would say that's probably probably an equal half mountain and lowland, I suppose. Forest.
Yeah, and the lowlands are all like rainforest, so
Yeah.
they're like thick and hard to get through anyway.
Yeah.
Those mountains like
Split it.
Those
Really.
mountains
I mean,
are
it makes sense
huge.
why there was a German half and a British half. Like those mountains are fucking crazy.
Yeah, they're especially hard to navigate if you're not like used to it. And the wild terrain is because in the context of geologic time, the island of New Guinea is constantly on fire
Oh, good.
in a geologic context. Basically, Oceania, so Australia and stuff, and India are on the same tectonic plate, and they are slamming into the rest of Asia. So the same forces that produce the Himalayas, you follow that chain down, you get to New Guinea.
Ruh-roh.
Exactly. They're constantly squeezing New Guinea, and the fault line is a similarly ginormous mountain range known now as the New Guinean Highlands. Between pretty frequent volcanic activity and earthquakes, as well as thousands of years of equatorial rainforest in the like rich ashy soil, because like volcanoes make soil richer in certain contexts.
Yeah, they make that super like fertile and shit.
Yeah, it's hard to get from place to place within the highlands. So that means if you're an Australian colonial administrator in the 50s or 60s with a bunch of gear to carry and shit, you don't have the time or facilities to radio back for advice about whatever matter you're trying to sabotage or settle. Like if there's an issue and you want to talk to the administrator of the next town over, that'll take you weeks.
Yeah, it's like too fucking bad.
Yeah, it's like it'll take you so long to get through the forest. So the solution was like, okay, well, we need to give all of these fucking Aussies whatever power they need for the moment so they can get through the day, right? So that meant the creation of the CAP, like a one-stop shop for Australian influence in Papua New Guinea. So these guys were as young as 19 years old.
Jesus Christ.
They often received the barest of training. Some of the later ones are known as instant Kiaps because they were like, we need to bring people over. They're known as that in the ex-Kiap community. And oh my gosh, do I have a weird little community for you. I don't have a slide, unfortunately. I don't have a good one yet. We have extremely spotty reporting about what life was like on the ground for a Kiap. We have a lot of it, but it's all from ex-Kiaps. So at this point, this is a group of like men in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, and they view themselves as having been critical to the nation building of Papua New Guinea, right?
Of course they do.
And so they have like a forum called like xkiap.com, and they
What
just
the
talk
fuck?
about their Kiap memories, being like, do you remember Jim? He was in like this hole in this town. I remember when Jim and I had to go settle a matter for the locals. Oh, Jim, he was so good. And then they like bang on about like they need increased recognition for their work building the nation of Papua New Guinea.
What the fuck?
So they're basically like reminiscing about a period of a few years in their 20s when they had limitless power over a bunch of like people.
Yeah, of course they're like, wow, those were the good old days.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a virtual bar for old men.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And there's like, I didn't go into it as much as Casey and I were talking about it for a while. When we were planning the app, there's like a guy who has kind of broken off from the X-Cup community.
Oh no, drama.
And he's like, man, these guys are crazy. Like the X-Cups, they have such a twisted view of themselves. Although us Cups were really important in building New Guinea.
Not me though, I was the most important one.
Oh my god, it's a whole mess.
Jesus Christ.
And they like a Cup had in the actual material essence ultimate authority over whatever they chose to do over the people in front of them. And suddenly a boy from Melbourne can be Hernan Cortez, the only man with a fucking gun in the town.
Jesus.
Like, I don't want to overstate how much power that is if there's
is
like a
kind of
whole
insane.
town and you're the only person with a gun there.
Yeah, like a 19-year-old boy.
And your job is like, if someone has a problem, you have to go and solve it.
You're not accountable to anybody.
Yeah, and you can bring your gun.
And they
no one
know
will question your decision.
And they know that if they fuck with you, an army will come back.
That's fucking nuts. I can only imagine there were good outcomes from that kind of abuse of power.
Probably. Yeah. Anyway, and these people are like, oh, I have to teach them about how they should, you know, be in civilization, which seems to be largely like, rather than eating your food, why don't you sell it?
Fuck.
And then you can buy other food.
Have to bring the joys of capitalism to you.
Yeah, that's basically it. The cops, you know, viewed themselves as a civilizing force. And that's what they talk about on their fucking forum. They're like missionaries for the concept of the cash economy. We are talking about the 60s here, so the United Nations has begun implementing their ideas of development. So the three of us were born and have always lived in the post-development world. So we've kind of subsumed the idea of like a developed country into our beings. But the idea of development that the word underpins is a linear progression from one stage of society to the next stage of society along a historical path that societies travel. This is a very anarchist thought. There's a very famous, fun, and meandering book that provides a pretty thorough anarchist critique of this idea of linear development called The Dawn of Everything by Davids Graeber and Wengro. And that'll... we'll talk about that critique. But first, you guys.
Yes.
Yo.
How we go from like cave monkeys to humans with cities and shit?
Fire. Meat.
My meat, man.
Wheels.
Gambling.
Clothes.
Now you know.
Money.
Missionary.
Molecules.
Anal.
Damn. That's it.
All right, so
Do you want an actual answer now?
yeah, okay.
Okay, so from like monkeys and caves to like what, like now?
Yeah. What are the like broad stages?
Okay, so I guess First, you're gonna have to have, like, some sort of, like, community, like, solid community base, right? Because none of this shit happens if we're all still kind of just, like, floating about and there's no strong familial bonds, right? So, you've got that. Next, I imagine there's going to be, like, a dictation of tasks and, like, a divvy of work. As in, like, you know, somebody, like, hunts, somebody cooks, somebody, like, cares for infants, somebody does this, that, and the other, in a way that makes the most sense for everybody's survival if groups get big enough. And then I imagine the next stages are probably even in that is a development of, like, language and communication, so that you can kind of, like, be able to actually, like, be like, hey, we need XYZ. We need water. We need blah. At some point, you've got, like, you know, the wandering aspect of it all, where it's just, like, moving from location to location to kind of, like, source food and shelter and avoid, like, massive weather events and stuff like that, or, like, for the seasons. And then I guess you've got, like, hey, what if we didn't have to do that all the time because we're able to make thicker clothing or better shelters, or, you know, we found a location where, like, food is plentiful all year round, and so we can, like, permanently settle there. At which point I think it's like, okay, well, permanent settling, is that farming? Is that the, you know, the controversy of, like, oh, did we do that because of beer or whatever? Where we, like, you know, yeah, we settled and we did farming for stuff so we could ferment and get drunk, which, fair enough.
What else are you going to do?
What else are you going to do?
It's 50,000 BC.
You know, the advent of farming, and throughout all of this, there's obviously, like, conflicts between groups, and so some groups will get bigger, and some groups will get smaller, and you'll have, like, an amalgamation of, like, the best at surviving groups will get bigger. The ones that don't survive as well will either go off to bigger groups or, like, die out. And then you've kind of got society from there. You develop more tools, you make bigger places, you get better at surviving in your environment, language improves, you've got writing now, that's pretty exciting. And then the rest is history.
Once you have writing, the rest is history. That's really true.
Yeah. Trade?
Yeah.
Trade.
And trade is a trade. I mean, when early on when you were talking about, thank you very much for, that was actually,
when I was just rattling off that bullshit.
That was good. I had Age of Empires in my head the whole time.
Yeah.
You know?
Especially when you did the warfare bit, and I was like,
You know?
yeah.
Like,
I was trying. Actually, Age of Empires is what I was thinking when I was writing my little summary of it. But that was lovely.
Can you narrate me when I play Age of Empires?
Yeah, of course. Just hit me up, let me know.
That was fantastic. Yeah.
It's Albanese.
Perfect.
There's this progression from, like, we're hunter-gatherers to, you know, someone figures out agriculture and people become sedentary, and then through the mental space that allows, we figure out ways to make things faster. Trade comes into it, especially early on in the, like, well, if we trade off, like, I do this thing and you do that thing, you're already trading, like, the time of the day, and then that translates to, like, well, through trading, we can all have something better than if we all did our own thing. That's this idea, right?
I remember history, like, class when they were talking about, like, the first bits of pottery they found.
Yes.
And they think at that time, that's when they started producing the coins in that certain part of the thing, was, like, when somebody was making, oh, here's a pot, like, what do you get for it? Because you put so much effort in.
Yeah. This idea of, like, embodied value
this,
into something, and, like, the cash economy in general. And, after you have science or whatever, because you have your mental space, you get science, and through science you get freedom and government and higher levels of organization, bigger cities, societies, nations, and liberal democracy, and then you're developed, right? So that's, like, there's this idea that is a pre-described thing that has to happen for every society.
Yeah.
Right? That is a necessary progression that every society must undergo. And once you're done, once you're developed, it's like you're fully cooked or whatever. You're like
absolutely fully fucking cooked.
Goes ding.
Exactly.
Perfectly tenderized nation state. And the inevitability of this view of history isn't necessarily borne out by the evidence. Societies have gone in many different directions. There have been modes of production that have risen and fallen, and agriculture has been adopted and abandoned and has led to flourishing and then subsequent crashes of population. Most importantly, we're not at the end. This is the way things are at the moment, and all things must in time be deceased. But this idea of linear development was extremely convincing to the governments in the United Nations of the 1960s, and so this boy from Melbourne with the only firearm in town believes he's bringing the light of civilization to the poor savages.
Yeah, a really, really normal thing to do to everyone in that situation.
Very regular. They usually have a team of something like 10 to 15 to 20 like local policemen as well, who were usually from the coast. And they usually enter the highlands and then enforce the law.
Yeah, that sounds really well done, and I'm sure not devastating.
How do they go climbing the mountains?
I think. So one thing that the ex-Kiops complain about a lot, that this guy who doesn't like the ex-Kiops is like, this is ridiculous, is that the ex-Kiops are like, Kiops had a similar fatality rate to Australians in the Vietnam War. And the ex-Kiops guy is like, yeah, because a bunch of people had dysentery and died in the mountains. It's not the same.
It was, hey, you weren't like combating like exterior forces. It was your bowels trying to kill you.
You were just dying because you shouldn't have been there. I think the worst thing is what it looked like when these people would walk into town. Right. This group of like native police and their Kiop like dictator, which is our next slide.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! I don't like that even a little.
Well, Kieran's reacting. Casey, what's the slide called?
Stupid Kiop outfits, and he looks like a gym teacher.
You know, here's the worst thing. Sometimes I forget that like Australia had like the era of men in the shortest possible shorts, but it was like not in like a cunty way, and it was not in like a bit cheeky, bit like rebellious kind of like fashion way. This was just like a regular normal thing that you just were expected to see all your friends' dad's thighs all the time.
Yeah, it's a part of the uniform.
Like, what are you talking about?
What is this Kiop uniform?
Okay, we have a guy in what appears to be a white button-down shirt, I presume. He's wearing short shorts that go like quite a bit, maybe at least a full hand above the knee, and white socks pulled all the fucking way up to his like upper calf, nearly at the knee joint, and he has a gun, and all of the native police around him are dressed in black and red, and it looks really fucking Dodge. Like, really fucking Dodge.
Yeah, just the white guy in white, a bunch of, black people in black.
Yeah.
And
very stark.
Yeah, Kiops have a really absurd view of themselves, which feels like it's from a million years ago. There's this incident called the Telefomin Massacre, where a Kiop and two of his local officers were attacked while out patrolling, right? And two of them are killed. 33 local men were initially sentenced to death, and then it was commuted to 10 years of hard labor. For, I have to assume, righteous killings of these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And a couple of hundred people were arrested in the initial roundup. The view that the government took was that the officers were attacked, and this is a quote, because the natives were no longer allowed to fight with each other and were obliged to keep their villages clean.
Fuck off.
And they're like, and then they decided because they couldn't fight each other, they had to fight the officers and kill the officers.
Because they weren't allowed to be dirty and violent. They decided to be dirty and violent to us.
Exactly.
Like, what?
It fits a very particular conception of tribal society that the Westerners love to have, with arcane rules of village violence and just shit everywhere that the white men come in and clean up. There's also the classic cannibalism cudgel, which comes into this.
We love to hear it.
But it's also not based on anything that the people who were arrested said in, like, the trial and proceedings, which did happen. Here's what an anthropologist found people accusing the Kiops of.
Among the grievances of the Min people were manslaughter, bashings, verbal assaults, and the burning of houses by police, looting of gardens and the theft of pigs by government personnel, sexual use of women by police and the previous patrol officer, failure to pay compensation for the deaths of 5 carriers drowned on an earlier patrol, imprisonment without trial, and forced labour without payment. Yeah, no shit. All the shit I expected that a fucking, like, white person with a gun and absolute power in a location would do.
Yeah.
Just horrendous shit, of course.
And a team
because
of 30 dudes.
Yeah. Like, it's awful how predictable it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's awful that I don't expect anything else.
No, this is just like, obviously this is what they did. And that's what's referred to as in the, like, the government sources is like, oh, the natives were no longer allowed to fight each other and were obliged to keep their villages clean. And, like, this is the kind of shit that's happening.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, they're stealing from us, beating us, killing us, raping us, like, just setting fire to it. It's just like, hey, they're going to try and kill, humiliate, and degrade us in every way possible.
I'm talking about degrading.
Sorry, we tried to stop that.
What's the picture we have here?
Well, we have a Kiap holding a baby, a Papuan baby, and there are some little kids there, and there's a woman, and I'm so worried.
You're as worried as everyone but the Kyop, who's the only person smiling in this
Yeah,
photo.
everybody else looks pretty fucking concerned.
Like, especially, like, I love this guy down here.
The kid
like,
down
is he
there?
gonna eat him?
He's literally wide-eyed looking towards the camera, being like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, it's not good. I found a paper. Well, I found the abstract to a paper with strong paywalls that described the Kyops and Australian colonial rule in Papua New Guinea in general as government by inspection. It's very like middle management hit your KPIs shit. We're not gonna
Rock up, have a look. You pass or fail inspection. We fuck off for a bit, and we'll come back eventually.
Exactly. Very like that, which is just the Australian experience.
Landlord style.
It's landlord middle management, the petty bourgeois, or whatever those fucking Marxists call it. And yeah, we're not going to help you get there. We're not going to make the rules very clear. Kiops basically show up to inspect. Often they perform a census, and in the process of doing an inspection or the census, somehow violence breaks out, and the Kiops have to demonstrate a show of force. That terminology was in often. Like, they had to do a show of force.
So a murder.
Yeah, something along those lines. But yeah, the paper that described all of these things wasn't available, so fuck it, I'm not crediting the author. And on the topic of fuck it, I'm not giving this motherfucker any credit. Let's get to the tale of Jack Emanuel. Jack Emanuel had been a Kyop since 1946, and by the 1960s he has been working on the Gazelle Peninsula of East New Britain, having become fluent in Kuanua, the language spoken by the local Tolai people. Before we get into this, I've been trying to figure out how to fit this into the episode, but it feels like now is the only time. The way these islands is names, we've already talked about Papua New Guinea, but the way that these islands and people and languages have been named by Westerners is an absolute fucking disaster of colonial anachronism, and I hate it. I hate it so fucking much. I've got another map, and we're going to talk through this map. So this is a map. For the listener, the country of Papua New Guinea, you probably know, is the eastern or right-hand side of the big island of New Guinea, as well as a few islands off further to the east until you get to the Solomon Islands. These islands are called New Britain, New Ireland, and Bougainville. So, New Britain and New Ireland...
Fucking love a trip to Bougainville.
Bougainville's going to be an independent country, like, in 2 years.
Oh, hell yeah.
To this day?
No, not exactly. Just like...
Citizen of Bougainville?
They're doing their like, referendum and stuff. Like, they're going to become independent. They're going to be called Bougainville.
There's going to be a country called Bougainville.
Yeah, it's going to be the second closest country to Australia.
I love that. I love that for us.
Don't worry. I'll make it not as fun as you hope.
Yay!
No, it's not bad. But yeah, so New Britain and New Ireland, that's like a big island off the coast and then a smaller island next to the big island.
Yeah.
That's it. You're a stupid fucking British person, and you're like, cool, blimey, this like back home, innit? There's an island off an island, like Britain and Ireland. And so you call it New Britain and New Ireland.
That sounds
because you've already done New South Wales or whatever and fucking New Zealand, so why not go for the whole fucking Monty?
Let's go.
So then there's Bougainville, which is named after a guy from, guess where?
Bougainville.
No, France.
Yeah. Actually, that makes sense, because it's Bougain.
Yeah.
Bougainville.
Louis-Antoine de Bougainville, or whatever. The Bougainvillea plant, which is native to South America, is named after the same guy and has nothing to do with the island, or, for what it's worth, the word Bogan. And I don't think Bougainville went to Bougainville. I don't know. Wait, no, that's the other guy. Port Moresby, the capital, is named after Fairfax Moresby, a British sea captain who never went to Papua New Guinea.
Great stuff.
But he is the guy who made the decision to send the Pitcairn Islanders to Norfolk Island.
Oh, what the hell?
Yeah, what a throwback, huh?
There we go. There we go.
Yeah. So, the islands of New Britain, New Ireland, and fucking Bougainville are part of the Bismarck Archipelago, which is named after German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck.
Classic.
And the sea that the archipelago snuggles into existence is known as the Bismarck Sea. While those damn Germans occupied the islands, they called them New Pomerania and New Mecklenburg. Those aren't islands. So that they have no excuse for this. At least New Britain and New Ireland there's a logic there. New Pomerania and New Mecklenburg. Imagine if New Mecklenburg was just above us. Fucking ridiculous. And the other side of the Bismarck Sea is the Solomon Sea, which leads to the Solomon Islands. These were named by a Spanish guy named Alvaro de Medina y Niera. And he is trying to convince the king that he has found the source of the biblical King Solomon's wealth.
Amazing.
To get him to sponsor another trip out and stuff.
Iconic.
And there is like a little bit of gold, but no, it is not where King Solomon's wealth comes from.
And this is the Atlantis Sea.
Yeah.
And this is Jesusville.
This is Jesusville. It's all the way out here next to what I'm hearing is frizzy-haired new blackface.
Yeah.
Is what this name means. Yeah. So sorry about that. I wanted to make sure no one thought that I think there's a right way to name land, because obviously the world will outlive any sounds we slap out of our teeth. Even speaking about language, the idea that we could draw a border around wavering echoes and magic pulsing sound waves is a bit ludicrous. But the diversity of ways of speaking we're talking about in Papua New Guinea highlights the astonishing unimaginativeness of labeling these islands New Britain and New Ireland. This next slide here, which the listener can't see, is a map of Papua New Guinea colored by language families. Each of these language families encompasses dozens or even hundreds of distinct modes of speaking that you might call a different language. What would you all see we're seeing in this map of Papua New Guinea, and how many languages there might be?
There's a lot of color. I'll give it that. There is a lot of color going on. A lot of, like, you can see there's some sections that have, like, similar colorations, but they are often broken up by other ones.
Yeah, and that there's a big section Trans-New Guinean and such.
Yeah.
That's like 300 languages or something like that. Like, that's a lot of different languages that have been shown to be related in some kind of linguistic historical sense. There's no, I don't think there's a proper number, but we're talking about like 800.
That's fucked.
Something like 800 languages, but like it's difficult. But to center our story, you will notice on the island of New Britain,
Yes.
there is this bright blue section.
There is.
That's where the Baining languages are spoken.
Okay.
That is the Gazelle Peninsula, which was named by some Prussian guy after his boat.
Okay,
The
cool.
Gazelle. And this is where Jack Emanuel is playing his cap trade, in the Gazelle Peninsula, where the Baining languages are spoke. Jack Emanuel does not speak one of the Baining languages. And in fact, there aren't many Westerners who do. Baining itself is a Tolai language word meaning something like bush people. The Baining have initially gained a completely false reputation for never smiling, having no cultural practices and no conception of art or whatever. There's all these articles from like the time and from now being like, they're only people who don't smile and their children don't even play games.
Jesus Christ.
It's gone from like these primitive Stone Age people to now people are like, they're living the real way. From a Western perspective, the value of describing a people this way at that time means they fit very neatly into a specific linear conception of how a society develops. We can bring them civilization, and then they will start having happy children instead of these severe children they have
Weird,
now.
sad children.
Yeah.
I can see like the 1960s ad right now. It's
Yep.
like of kids without toys on the floor, and then you give them toys, and they're like, ah, and they start playing with it.
Yes, that, but for like development money.
Yeah.
We're going to build a school. More recently, however, researchers have looked back through the diaries of the original anthropologists with a critical eye and put together a more sensible picture. The Baining people say as little as possible to the Westerners.
Yeah, no shit. They're like, mm-mm.
There's this guy who's like, I've realized that whenever they're doing something in town, they trick me into leaving with someone. And he's like, I keep going into towns and being like, wow, this town must have been recently abandoned. It's just been so many now that I'm starting to realize people just leave when I arrive. No one wants to talk to me because they don't want to talk to me.
Yeah, fair enough. They see you coming and they're like, nah.
And the reason...
I'll get in trouble if I'm not fucking here.
So the recent researchers are kind of going like, you know, oh, these guys are frustrated they're not getting any data. And so they're like, they don't have any cultural practices. They don't even have art. Their kids don't even smile.
They don't have anything.
It's like,
they don't have anything. They fucking suck.
It's like the new kid in school that everybody like turns away from and doesn't want to speak. Like they're having the best time and they're like, oh, that dude's coming over the hill. Just let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Just this new kid who's come from a different school who like is dressed in like extremely expensive
prep
clothes.
kid going to a public school.
Exactly. Who's been kicked out because it's like you're not a kiap if you're doing well in Australia.
No.
Like you have a proper job. So anyway, this is reinforced by the Kuanua speakers, which are the Tolai, who are happy to share their language with the moneyed outsiders and tell them about all these idiotic, artless backcountry hillbillies. We've been saying a lot of different languages, but we're on the Gazelle Peninsula of New Britain, but basically it's a little bit of land where most of the people speak Baining, but on the coast, you'll see Tolai, which is orange in this map. Kuanua is the name of the language spoken by the Tolai people, as it is referred to in this story, and it is part of the Austronesian language family. Kuanua is, much more similar to Tongan, Maori, or Samoan than it is to the binding languages of the peninsula that it shares.
That's so weird.
It's both easier and much more important for Jack to speak Kuanua because they're coming in from the coast.
Yeah.
They're not going into the highlands as much.
Yeah.
And so, even though that's like mainly people who live on the coast, it's like, well, it's easier to learn it because he's already met people from other parts of the Pacific or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's part of the like Austronesian language family. I don't think like they're considered related languages at all. Like Kuanua and Baining are basically just like completely unrelated languages.
That's so cool.
For the Whiteys, there's no reason to really consider the Baining. Before we leave the language conversation, I thought we might compare some words in Mali, which is one of the binding languages, and Kuanua, which is the Tolai language. Keep in mind that vocabulary is a complete failure of a concept in describing how language actually works. And these words are things I sourced from the internet. But yeah, here's some comparison of these two different languages spoken in this one tiny part of the world.
Hell yeah. Okay, cool. So is it Kuanua or Tolai that's the actual language?
That's a coastal language.
Yep. Okay, so...
And then Mali is the language of like the highlands.
Okay, so
most of the peninsula.
So in Kuanua we have child is Natu, and in Mali child is Athoemga, which is pretty cool.
Athwemga, maybe?
Yeah. All right. Then again, thought, we have Nuknuk and Musneng. Half is Ngungu. And, all right, let's go. Chutiglegiel? Chutilegel?
Chutiglel? I don't know.
Quick is Rurut or Bang. Hell yeah. Sniff is Anjin or Pirandim. Person, Tarai, or Arucha. Yeah, those are fully fucking different. That's really cool.
Yeah, when I was looking through it, I couldn't find anything that like looked similar because they're just different languages.
Totally fucking different. Also, it absolutely slaps that the Mali word for quick is bang.
Bang! Yeah.
Bang!
Yeah, there was a pretty cool Mali dictionary that I was looking through, whereas Kuanua was like it wasn't as cool a dictionary, but that's just what I found. I have a friend who's a cool linguist who spent a lot of time living in Papua New Guinea with people who speak a language known as Suki. Early on in knowing her, I was like, so how many like letters do they have? She's like, listen, as a linguist, as like a PhD in linguist, it's not a useful way to look at language. The way you're talking about language is not. You sound like a child in the context of linguistics, the way you're speaking about language. Like, what does this word mean is like you're being a baby.
Grow up. And it's like, yeah. Okay.
Like letters and words, like it's not that great a way of describing language in its entirety. So we'll move back to Jack, who knows how to speak to Kuanua, in Kuanua to Tolai people. But Jack is not that great a way of describing a good person. So sources on his reputation are spotty. Obviously, there's a bunch of ex-cops and colonial sources who paint him really rosily, but they do certainly portray him as someone willing to speak to locals on something closer to even terms compared to their impression of the average Kiap.
Okay.
So I don't think I'd call him a nice person. Seems like even people of the time are like, oh, he's nicer than the rest of the Kiaps.
Yeah, he's not completely...
insane person.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reads obviously as like extremely patronizing to me, but there's a perception in these recollections that he's largely like got a positive relationship with locals. He'll come into town by himself. He'll talk to people like in their houses. He'll like leave his security detail and go to their houses. Allegedly, I don't know how. Like,
whether that's true or not.
Like it's important. Like we don't get many sources from Papuan people, and over his life he'd had 3 local wives.
There we go.
Oh, that doesn't actually sound like a good thing. Doesn't paint him as someone who just loves these poor people of the bush, as some other idiot said about Jack.
Well, I mean, did he have these 3 local wives at once?
No, it seems like they all died.
Oh, how?
Jack did it.
No.
Injuries? They all got sick. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
I assume
sick of their white fucking husband.
I assume he views himself as some kind of like godfather figure, and like. In that I mean God figure and father figure, not godfather figure.
Yeah, I was about to say, he just started the mafia.
Yeah, fucking things that like...
He's the whole mafia.
by himself. That's what the Kiap
Yeah.
is the entire mafia.
He gave himself the horse head in the bed with his dead wife.
Fucking hell. Which one? So yeah, in even in what's apparently a best case scenario, an average Australian abroad is predetermined to suck for the locals. There's an incident where Jack fires his gun in the air as a show of force to calm a bunch of angry folk, right? But then his 15 cops start shooting at the angry locals and kill a couple of them. And the locals are angry because Jack is there to collect a new tax he's just announced for the Empire. Fans of the movie Lagan will know the correct way to solve this issue is through sports.
Yes, correct.
But we're still decades away from the Papua New Guinea Gooners being in the NRL. So,
Triple Lagan.
so Jack continues his show of force and occasional nice chats with his poor savage children or whatever. So we get to Kaibara in 1971. We are well into the last few years of Australian colonial rule in Papua New Guinea. It's just a year later after this that Gough Whitlam's going to be elected and he's going to make PNG independence an immediate issue. With this independence comes the challenge of figuring out administrative boundaries over land that's gone from traditional conceptions of people's relationships to the earth to being colonized by competing parties 2 or 3 or 4 times. This has impacts, obviously, on what can be done with the land, and once you start a cash crop, you create a community that's reliant on the cash crop. It's a situation that Jack's trying to negotiate, I guess, is his role. So the Binding used to live all the way on the coast of the Gazelle Peninsula until the Tolai showed up in a couple hundred or 100 years before the Europeans did. When the Whitey finally arrived with their preachers and peddlers and eventually trading posts and pogroms, the Tolai were still in process of colonizing the Gazelle Peninsula, sending the Binding up to the mountains. So the Tolai had been a trading community for a while. That's why they're an Austronesian language speaking community. They're part of the lineage of people who have been colonizing the lands of Tonga and Samoa and stuff, right? And they've arrived from the coast. And when the Europeans arrive and they start spending money on local goods, the Tolai become more powerful than the Binding very quickly, because suddenly this much bigger empire has things to buy from them. I think it's mainly copra and cocoa and stuff. But a bunch of the Tolai land becomes these single crop cash machines or plantations is how we kind of describe them. The Binding view the Tolai as their primary colonizers, and they've got these white allies. They don't think about the white people in the same way as the Tolai might do, or other groups of Papua New Guinea. We get some German sources from the early 1900s in which missionaries describe the Tolai have a practice of raiding Binding territory, killing and eating all the adults, and kidnapping and enslaving the children. And in general, German administrators saw the Binding as needing protection from the Tolai, that was their conception of the two groups. Though we'll keep in mind that they were all happy to execute any Binding who demonstrated resistance against the Germans, so they don't have an ultimate understanding of justice.
No.
So the Tolai, for their part, they're having a really good time as people at this point, if you measure how good a time people are having by how many kids they're having. Right, so all these kids mean they need more land to support the population of the kids who live there. So they settle further and further into where the Binding live, which pushes the Binding further and further up into the highlands. They're brought out of the highlands by the Japanese during World War II to build some roads, and the resulting killings and dysentery epidemics reduced the Binding population from something like a couple of thousand to about 600 after the war. So then modern European commercial interests show up, not trying to colonize in the same way, but do this financial colonization, these bigger foreign run, usually Australian, but often Chinese plantations. They start taking active control of a lot of the land, which reduces the land that the Tolai have that they've been gaining from taking it from the Binding. Suddenly, it's being taken from them for these plantations. And they're trying to still grow their food and stuff and have places to live for their more of their kids, right? So the actual livelihood of the people as often seems to have been an afterthought. So the government, which is this weird collection of Kiaps, Australians, and Western educated Papuans, want to make the land as productive as possible. So there's this shithouse unoccupied part of the land that's granted back to the Tolai. And this is land that's their land that that the Europeans have taken, but the Tolai have taken from the Binding in the last 3 generations or whatever. Okay. So part of that land that's just been unoccupied is granted back to the Tolai, but the requirement is you have to use 80% of that land to harvest cocoa.
Okay.
So this is the plan. So they've mostly disengaged at this point, or like more than the Binding people, from like subsistence economy. They're not growing their own food anymore. They're growing stuff to sell so they can buy food.
Yeah.
Once you plugged into that system, it's hard to plug out. This is going to be the plan. So they dig up all this land. They dig up the 80% of the land, right? The reason this land is unoccupied becomes apparent a few months later when the water table rises and the cocoa holes become chalky swamps. And that's 80% of like their land now. So it's just been like flooded, right? And this kind of shit keeps happening. So more and more of like the Tolai are occupying plantation land owned by these companies.
Yeah.
It's described as like protest, but it sounds like it's also just like survival necessity.
Yeah.
A lot of this land isn't being like used at this point. Some of these are like speculative claims. Some of these are really remote parts of the land. Some of them are being used, and there's like skirmishes, as it were, between plantation workers and Tolai. And Jack Emanuel is the man who's going to descend into this milieu to stop the natives from revolting or whatever. This strong, brave man, Jack Emanuel, who definitely looks the part.
Oh no, let me see. Dork. Dork. Nerd. Dork nerd.
He looks like a film director.
Yeah, but like one of those ones that like smells little girls' underarms.
Yeah. Never happy with the shot. Always tries to change something weird.
Yeah,
Three
he looks
local
like,
wives.
He absolutely looks like Quentin Tarantino, and I say that derogatory because of, his need to choke women when doing choking scenes. He's like, this actor won't do it right. Let me choke the bombshell.
I want to choke the bombshell.
I'll do
I want
it
to suck
right.
her toes.
Yeah.
My name is Jack Emanuel.
Yeah, he looks like a fucking pervert, I'll be real.
A lot of these dudes we send over look like perverts.
Hey, you know what's crazy? I think they're all perverts.
I don't know how old his local wives were. So the Kiops,
I have
right?
to imagine young.
The Kiops talk a lot about being on their own in the bush. We had to make decisions based on the information we had. But Jack has showed up to this like plantation protest occupation with 60 dudes, armed guys to calm the tension or whatever, right? So the Victoria Cross Association, because he got a Victoria Cross for his bravery in this situation.
Oh my god.
They describe this action as taking on the role of peacemaker in the presence of hostile locals. And they obviously don't spend any time talking about what the hostile locals are hostile about. A quote repeated in a few sources is one of the Tolai leaders, William Taupa, says, "The title to the land is not right." Like, that's the quote that he keeps saying. And I think Taupa's, like, Western educated, as it were. The dispute's been going for years, and the Tolai have been frequently attacked by, like, the plantation owners and forced off other parts of their property. They keep having to basically move or whatever. So I'd rate their hostility as understandable. The completely unbelievable story that apparently happened is that, as per the official Australian sources, William's like, "Jack, come into the forest, let's talk man on man. Leave your 60 people here." 20 minutes later, everyone's like, "Where did Jack go?" They go into the forest, they find his body, and he's like dead and stabbed. And in the panic, like, they're like, "Oh my God, who did it?" Like, Williams disappeared, and they end up identifying and arresting 120 Tolai suspects as being part of this is the Australian sources, well-orchestrated plan to force the government to address the Tolai land disputes, with the assassination of Jack Emanuel being their, like, big fish 9/11 moment.
Okay, what the fuck?
Yeah, I don't believe that story for a second.
Yeah.
It sounds like total bullshit, but we mainly get sources from like Kiops and so on.
And of course, they're going to say whatever they want to say about it.
So wait, William
William
went into the bush with Jack.
Yes, he's like...
Then went to the airport.
The
and
idea is that
the
William... No. So William is a Tolai guy. The idea is that Jack shows up to calm this fight. William's angry. He's like, "Jack, come on, let's go have a chat. Let's go into the forest and have a chat man to man, rather than like, let's go stand over here where people can't hear us, but they can still
he's like,
see
"Hey,
us."
I want us to be completely isolated real quick."
And Jack's like, "Oh, my guys, you stay here." 20 minutes later, they're like, "Man, Jack and William have been gone a while." They go into the forest. They find Jack's body stabbed to death with like a Japanese bayonet. That's a part of the story. And William's disappeared. They find William the next day trying to board a plane to Port Moresby. But he's like walking to the airport. They arrest him and like 119 other people
Jesus fucking
a
Christ.
Conspiracy. Right?
That's fucking nuts.
So a radio message was played to the Tolai from the Australian administrator of the district, and parts of this radio message really chilled me to my bone.
I speak to you tonight still profoundly shocked that a man or men could brutally kill someone who was known as a friend and who, it seems, was engaged in peaceful and friendly talk when he was struck down. What can cause a man to do a thing like this? How can such an action be contemplated, yet alone carried out in the Gazelle Peninsula in 1971? What motives, what incitements lie behind thoughts and actions so full of hate?
I know that laws sometimes are confusing. I know that there are some laws that should be changed. We all know that we need new land laws. And you know that we hope to have these new laws passed when people understand them better. But is there among some people a disrespect for the law? Do some people escape punishment when they flout the law? Do some people publicly advocate disobedience to laws? If so, we will stop it.
Thoughts?
Well, you know what this feels like? Just given the current situation, this feels very Charlie Kirk.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. Especially like this whole thing about the laws, right? And it's like the dispute's not about the laws so much about like they keep getting kicked off the place they're trying to live and the economy that their society is kind of built around because of the
problem is so much larger.
Impose.
But I think, Australians are just going to be like, as a civilized nation, they're going to be like, yes, well, we do need new laws, which is what they do every time, like even now to this day. Like,
Exactly.
there's homeless people living in this park. Well, we simply need new laws.
We
And it's
simply
like,
need
and
new
what will
laws.
that fix?
Exactly.
What does that fix?
And trying to impose that on people who, like, I don't mean to say that Tolai communities, binding communities didn't have, like, rules, as it were, or behaviors that were internally accepted by the community and behaviors that might be punished by the community. But these externally imposed laws that have very little to do with the natural environment and the like food environment, the living environment of people. The project of civilizing seems to just be like, we'll keep telling you that you have to do this. We'll just keep telling you have to do it. If you don't listen, you're not civilized.
Yeah. But, like, even then, like, when the Tolai people were given land that's crappy and told to live it up, and if they went anywhere, like, near their borders of land, they were pushed off from people who were encroaching on their land already, is what it sounds like.
Yep.
And then he comes around and is like, oh, look, you have to settle down.
Yep.
You have to settle down.
Exactly.
Like,
And then
why not stab him, run to the airport,
exactly.
go to Casablanca, have a great time?
And after that's happened, this is the message being played on the radio, like all the time, being like, "We will find who killed Jack Emanuel,
and we will find you."
Yeah. So eventually,
I'll find you and I will kill you.
Eventually, 13 people are put on trial. 13 men. William Talpa and a binding man named Anton Tavaliria were sentenced to 14 and 11 years in prison. By this point, a lot of binding people are working for Tolai people because of how those communities have been interacting with each other and the like land that the binding people are being pushed into. It's like, oh, it's actually better if I go and work for the Tolai people on the coast rather than living up in the highlands because we don't have as many resources as we used to for the amount of people. Anton is like pinned as the actual assassin who's like hiding in the forest, and William's like the ringleader of this giant conspiracy they're alleging happened.
Conspiracy to kill one guy.
Again, they investigated, they talked to 120 people. And part of this huge conspiracy seems to be one guy tells this other one guy to come into the forest, and the other one guy's like, sure, why not?
Yeah.
That sounds great.
That's fucking weird.
And 120 people are involved.
Yeah, I feel like this would, like, if this is how it actually is played out, would make an amazing movie of these two. Like, it just sounds like a movie, like two enemies that have been enemies all the time, being intimidated, but they're being controlled by these white people, or this one guy, and they treat him like he's better than them as the option. Then obviously shit goes down. They get kind of pushed out, or like pushed away or pushed up because of all of the work that's being done on that island.
Yes.
And then they realize that they can do it, and they're like, well, let's do it together.
Let's do
kill
it
that fucker together.
Yeah.
Exactly. It does have that shape. And it's not, I don't know if it's not what happened. There's a series of interviews that I don't think I could get access to with William Talpa and Anton Tavaliera done in like the last 20 years, I think in the 2010s.
Damn.
I think they're in Tokpisin, which is like the a commonly spoken language in Papua New Guinea, sort of the quasi-national language, lingua franca or whatever. But I wasn't able to get access to them, and even then, I don't speak Tok-Pisin. So there are some like more recent things of them talking about this case, but I had to wade through all the Kiap memorial sources to find this recollection translated of what like the period of the investigation of 120 suspects in the criminal conspiracy was like for the Tolai.
After the murder, the police, and generally speaking the Europeans in Rabaul, reacted strongly. Police patrols went through villages in the Kaibara region, beating villagers including women, old men and children, killing pigs and trampling gardens. There were reports of looting by police of houses. Many villagers were taken into police stations for questioning, and there is evidence that a number of them were beaten in order to obtain confessions. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because this is also this... Not only is this like, you know, oh no, a white man was killed. This is also like, oh no, the authority of Australia has been challenged by these like people that we consider so far below us.
Exactly.
It is a disgrace and like a humiliation, really. And so that has to be met with like, as we know, when a man is humiliated, that has to be met with extreme violence. As a way to cope.
Yeah. That's what... I mean, this is Jack Emanuel doing this again, and I have to assume as part of, like, many times that he did this.
Yeah.
You know? Like, that's...
Sorry, it went sideways, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Sucks.
Like...
Shouldn't have been, like, a fucking, like, PNG cop.
Exactly. Like, this is... And especially because he was there for, like, 25 years.
Yeah.
There were people who were there for, like, 2 years, and the, like, ex-Kiop who doesn't like the other Kiops is, like... Most Kiops seem to kind of disappear back into Australia and never, you know, really speak about it.
Yeah.
And then there's this one community. But yeah, we have a bunch of white men and empowered mainland cops running roughshod over a community. They face no repercussions and they leave the people to deal with the trauma. That is a lot of stories here.
Yeah.
It's increasingly every story everywhere. Very few places on Earth are left untouched by the extractive capitalist cash economy. The processes are usually more efficient than the old conquering days. You know, in general, it's cheaper to create a set of rules or laws and pay off whoever you've put in charge to enforce them than to actually show up, raise the land, physically subjugate the locals, ship some of their kids back to England to be slaves. Like, that's just expensive and time-consuming. The inspiration for this episode is obviously tied up in Papuan independence, the 50th anniversary celebrations, which we touched on earlier. Sucks, though, that it hasn't seemed to matter very much from a perspective of environmental, cultural, and social health, as much as the ex-Kiops like to think it's because their steady hand left the prehistoric savages too much work for their little brains to handle. What we're watching is the natural progression of growth and land exploitation play out 1,000 little times by 1,000 petty tyrants. The imposition of the cash economy being plugged into the world market is a death knell for pre-colonial forms of living. Once it is done, once the land that you use to feed your people and have lived on and moved around for, in many cases here, generations, in many cases like thousands of years, like we're talking a very diverse range of types of ways of being. Once you're plugged into the world market, that's done.
Yeah.
You have to produce and you have to sell. Next week, we're going to check back in to talk about the post-independence things, which have the same shape. It doesn't matter that independence happened. Now there's different people who make the same problems happen. We're going to talk about the Oktedi environmental disaster that really put BHP on the map.
Oh, yay.
And finally, the star of what was meant to be today's episode, my second least favorite Ukrainian-Australian, Justin Kachenko. We're going to go further into Justin Kachenko's life. We're going to talk about Manus Island a little more, but for now, here's the word penis in 50 or so languages spoken on Papua New Guinea, according to a guy named John Zagragan.
Damn, okay. Take a look at my Aki. Yeah, I got a pretty big Atu. Yeah, my BAM is throbbing. Yeah, I know she be licking it.
Oh.
Oh fuck, I'm dribbling semen. Dumay, touch it. Dumay touch eat. Oh, that's a hog. Tips my little cock hat. Good ma'am. How's that? Yeah, you know, any eye hole is an eye goal.
Oh, wow. I didn't see that coming.
You got a lizard, I got an iguar.
That's
What is that? Inwa? Yeah, Inwa and peace. Get on this dick.
Damn. Not even halfway through.
Okay.
Alphabetical.
Okay.
You've got this.
Okay.
The word is juror.
Yeah, can you use it in a sentence, please?
No, that's the whole bit you're doing.
Oh, you're right. No, yeah. Give me a definition.
Penis.
Okay, great. Language of origin?
One of the languages spoken on the island known as New Guinea.
Got it. I don't know. She sit on my Joru and spin. Yeah, when I get my girl in the sheets, she says, "Kalak me." Fuck. And when she does, I just come her.
Yeah, she said that your dick is magnificent.
I was gonna be like, oh yeah. She says she wants magic noodles, and I say, you want my magri noodle?
My dick's a good gutter mangin'.
She's mangin'. Oh god, I fell over and I hurt my groove. Oh no, when I wake up stiff and I panic. Oh yeah, he pulled my underwear up pretty high and really hurt my Reggie. So many dicks in here, where do I begin? Oh, you to man with that, hog. Oh, girl, no, don't do that, just tag it. Don't poke it, just tag it. Ungar? Ungar.
So these are, for the listener, there's like 50 words on the screen that are all words with penis, and we've got to the ones with heavy, like, international phonetic alphabet letters going on. So Ungar is spelled U, N with a little line coming off it, G.
Capital A, but without the strip in the middle.
Yeah, I guess so. And then R with the thing that makes N go nya. So I don't know what that means for R.
I'm penis sword fighting with my friends. They say, on guard, and I say, on guard.
I guess so.
Yeah, I have a Varui turgid member.
Come on, man.
Oh. She walks into my house, and I take off my pants, and I say, welcome to my wellum.
Oh.
I invited this girl over, and she's got, quite short hair. So there was two possibilities. And I said, you like anal leb?
Come on, man.
And she squeepo on my BMO till I penis.
Yeah.
I did it, everybody. Thanks, John Zagragan.
They weren't all John Zagragan, but definitely most of the references for words for penis in Papuan languages were for John Zagragan. There was a different person mostly linked for the words for vagina. The website Trans New Guinea, which is actually about translating New Guinean languages and not about trans people from New Guinea. But it hosts.
Do you got some pussy words for us?
Well, so it hosts 250 words for a penis, but only 54 words for vagina.
Devastating.
And 20 of them were just or ang. A lot of different languages. I'm not telling you which language they're all from because I forgot to write it down.
Amazing.
And so now we have all these words here. See you next week, everybody.
I just want to say that means pussy is universal, whereas
pussy
penis has
is
a million
universal.
names.
Yeah.
Any old dick, you can see that anywhere. But pussy, you see that and you go or you go
So the thing with the penises, right, is that, and it obviously it sounds like colonizer shit, but in a lot of because I read a bunch of papers from dudes in the 60s, and a lot of the ways you can kind of tell cultural groups apart at this point is the sheath on the penis, because that's one of the main things you wear most of the time, because it's hot as shit.
Well, yeah, and that's one of the parts of your body that you really don't want to get jabbed with anything. If you're out in the forest and such, you're going to go through a lot of things. You probably don't want bugs on it either.
Exactly.
So you're just I got to keep something on it just to keep my outie bits protected.
Right? So this one anthropologist, and I don't know the veracity of this. I obviously wasn't there. But he's this person was identified by the Kiap as from this tribe, but you could tell by the penis sheath that he was actually from this other tribe.
Holy shit.
God. Horny fucking Sherlock over here being well, actually, his penis sheath tells me that he's from the north.
That means there's a dick anthropologist out there. I specialize in worldly dicks. I have like a Bible of them.
I think dick anthropologists probably specialize in like one very specific kind of penis sheath. Like there'd be like, oh, I'm the world expert in penis sheaths from southeastern Papua New Guinea and highlands.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's cool. I'm the world expert in penis sheaths from, Quito or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, because I was going to say dental anthropologists and skeletal anthropologists are worldwide normally.
Yeah, because like the body's mostly the same, but like the sheath is like a thing the culture's built, like it's like a holster for the dick. So that's like culture specific and place specific, like material specific, whereas like teeth are teeth.
Yeah, but I feel like you could go all around the world.
My teeth are made of different things.
I don't want to know what the answer is because I feel like you might have a joke there.
I'm built different.
Nice.
Diffident.
Yeah, I'm built. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just built.
So that's episode 1 of our 2 or 3 part series about Papua New Guinea, and like Australian, not about Papua New Guinea, about Australian influence in Papua New Guinea, I guess. In theory, next week we will talk about Ok Tedi and Justin Kachenko and maybe Manus Island, but I might have an interview with somebody who lives in Papua New Guinea and is Papuan and was working in advocacy around this mine disaster we're going to talk about. Okay. So if so, I'll push that episode until I can speak to that person, and we'll do something else next week.
Sounds good.
And for now, we're going to record our Patreon episode after we take a little break, I think is the plan. If that's good for everyone. So who wants to read us out?
This has been Shouldn'ta. Thank you so much for listening. You can support us on Patreon if you choose to do so, and so you could listen to this fresh episode we're about to drop at www.patreon.com/shouldntacome. That's SHOULDNTACOME. You can also email us at shouldntacome, spelt the same, at gmail.com. Just hit us up, send us anything. I don't care. Talk to me. You can also find us on YouTube. Yanni is now doing our slides as part of the presentation on YouTube, so you can see all this stuff we're talking about. And you can hear about how I described that bird, because it's a fucking great bird. Yeah, the Kumul is a great bird. Very, very pro.
There's a lot of birds of prey, but that one specific, birds of paradise, sorry, but that one specifically was
gorgeous.
And that picture is oh wow, you nailed it. That is what the flag looks like.
Exactly. So you can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/@shouldntacome. And of course, the demo for Yanni's album is out on Bandcamp, and you can find that at YanniX, that's YANIX.bandcamp.com.
Yay!
Woo!
Shouldn't Comes has been a production of the 3 of us, and surprisingly, just the 3 of us. We didn't have any interruptions today.
Archie was surprisingly good.
He was surprisingly good.
Well, he's had a bath. He's had a big day.
He's had a big day.
Having a sleep.
Yeah.
Nothing like a sleep after a damn bath.
Honestly.
And for those of you who are going to be on the Patreon, we'll see you in a few days. Or, no, you'll have already heard that episode. Don't worry.
we'll have already seen you. Ooh.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Bye.